Hey, welcome to Jon Bowne Politix. This is February the 5th, 2019. So the Kentucky Covington Kids lawyer had given 50 celebrities, reporters, and others a chance to retract their mob mentality after the Lincoln Memorial debacle that drew back the curtain on the propagandized Wizard of Oz of mainstream media. And social media's now pitchfork and torch-carrying lunacy. It is now official. Everyone from Senator Elizabeth Warren to Alyssa Milano to Jim Carrey. The list goes on and on. Let's see. The New York Times, CNN, The Guardian, NPR, TMZ, Atlantic Media Incorporated, Capitol Hill Publishing Corporation, the Dioceses of Covington, of Lexington, of the Archdiocese of Louisville, the Diocese of Baltimore, Anna Cabrera, Andrea Mitchell, Savannah Guthrie, Joy Reid, Chuck Todd, Bill Maher, Warner Media, GQ, Heavy.com, The Hill, The Atlantic, Ilhan Omar, Elizabeth Warren, Kathy Griffin. Mr. McMurtry, the lawyer for the Covington Kids, said, "We want to change the conversation. We don't want this to happen again. We want to teach people a lesson. The time to stand your ground is now because they're even taking that away from you." One of the mainstream media's finer points that they kept trying to get across to us and to those kids was that by standing there, they were acting aggressive. Standing your ground, it's Gandhi-esque. It's nonviolent. It's what Martin Luther King preached. If the offended Native American had just moved away, there would have been no story. In fact, the story itself is a nothing story. Kids waiting for a school bus at the Lincoln Memorial, attacked by seasoned protesters. I hope now for the average American the shock and awe is starting to wear off and people just get irritated and annoyed by all of this nonsense. Benjamin Franklin prescribed this for our nation back in 1778, saying, "Whereas true religion and good morals are the only solid foundations of public liberty and happiness, it is hereby earnestly recommended to the several states to take the most effectual measures for the encouragement thereof." Today we are plagued by a volatile Marxist generation rejecting the Founding Fathers' quest for individual liberty. The idiocy of anti-morality has flared up as a generation of cowards embrace a culture of selfishness that mocks the selflessness of previous American generations while murdering future generations.
So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
Do you regret what you said yesterday or the way you said it?
No, I don't. And Alan, I appreciate the question. I'm a physician.
In the midst of this, Northam's racist past is used against not just him, but all of us. A media circus created to distract from the original evil post-birth abortion controversy, a topic the mainstream media won't fully address.
I take credit for recognizing that this was a horrific photo that was on my page with my name, Ralph Northam, above. I dressed up in a what's his name? The singer? Michael Jackson, excuse me. That's why I had Pam with me. I had the shoes, I had a glove, and I used just a little bit of shoe polish to put on my cheeks.
On January 22nd, New York Governor Cuomo signed the Reproductive Health Care Act into law, which expanded the circumstances under which a woman can legally obtain an abortion, including up until the moment of birth. And on January 28th, the Virginia legislature introduced a similar bill. The mainstream media will simply not address the established aborted baby market, one that Planned Parenthood, which is heavily supported by George Soros, has been actively involved in, as two of Planned Parenthood's business partners, DaVinci Biosciences and DV Biologics, have admitted guilt in a $7.8 million settlement with the Orange County District Attorney for selling aborted baby body parts from Planned Parenthood of Orange and San Bernardino counties for profit in violation of federal and California law, as reported by the Center for Medical Progress.
Aborted babies' bodies are a very valuable commodity in today's America. Research institutions, elite universities, medical centers pay a lot of money for baby parts. I find myself in complete shock saying that on television in America in 2019, but you can buy the arms and legs and skin of babies today.
While Lucian Greaves of the Satanic Temple is given a soapbox after being the subject of a recent Hollywood documentary praising him.
Well, the first Satanic Temple action that I heard of was definitely the Baphomet campaign in Oklahoma, when they were fundraising to make this 8.5-foot tall bronze, goat-headed deity called Baphomet, and I thought it was brilliant. Like many people who saw that story and those headlines and that campaign, was really made me smile. It made me think, and I thought it was really smart.
Greaves is preaching an irrational fear of Vice President Pence to a generation of swine. Greaves said, "Trump is too stupid to predict. The guy has no concept of his own limitations. The thing that makes me most uncomfortable with Trump is the fact that he has no vision. Mike Pence really scares me," Greaves told the Daily Beast. Pence has a clear theocratic vision for the United States.
How do those themes around Satan and Satanism resonate right now?
For me, it seems kind of obvious that there's been a complete reversal in the roles of who's ostensibly the good guys and who are the bad guys. Right now, we have evangelical nationalists pushing a theocratic agenda in the United States and making great headway to take away people's reproductive rights.
The United States is dangerously demoralized. When a governor attempts to legalize the murder of living, breathing citizens and the public is manipulated to support the concerns of the Satanic Temple, there's no other way but up. Jon Bowne reporting. Well, this is what hubris looks like. Apple head honcho Tim Cook recently tweeted, "We must keep fighting for the kind of world we want to live in. On this hashtag Data Privacy Day, let us all insist on action and reform for vital privacy protections. The dangers are real, and the consequences are too important." They're real, all right, thanks to Tim Cook and Apple. Tim Cook's ridiculous tweet unraveled as a 14-year-old discovered a spy glitch on Apple's FaceTime app. As the Apple Insider reported, reports of a massive FaceTime flaw surfaced on Twitter. Present in current versions of iOS, the bug enables a FaceTime caller to eavesdrop on a recipient device's audio, even if that person does not answer. Camera access is also granted if the recipient interacts with hardware buttons on their iPhone. For example, pressing the power button to decline the call. Perhaps most troubling was the relative ease at which the bug is exploited. A nefarious party simply calls another FaceTime user and manually adds the originating number to the call as a third party. Once added, audio from the recipient's device begins streaming without an indication that a call is live. As news of this glitch spread, Apple's earnings this quarter didn't meet expectations. The Motley Fool reported Huawei has displaced Apple as the second largest smartphone company globally, thanks to its strategy of offering feature-packed premium phones at lower price points when compared to Apple's lineup. Of course, Huawei has its own privacy issues. And if that wasn't enough to prove that privacy is dead on arrival, TechCrunch reports, desperate for data on its competitors, Facebook has been secretly paying people to install a Facebook Research VPN that lets the company suck in all of a user's phone and web activity. Meanwhile, as Reuters reported, a team of former U.S. government intelligence operatives working for the United Arab Emirates hacked into the iPhones of activists, diplomats, and rival foreign leaders with the help of a sophisticated spying tool called Karma, in a campaign that shows how potent cyber weapons are proliferating beyond the world's superpowers and into the hands of smaller nations. Tim Cook's high and mighty Twitter plea for privacy protection is a complete joke.
And as we showed this year, we won't give a platform to violent conspiracy theorists on the App Store.
However, Apple is facing lawsuits from concerned citizens, as Apple Insider reported. According to court documents, Larry Williams II said an intrusion occurred as he was taking sworn testimony during a client deposition. It is presumed that Williams received a call as he conducted a deposition via FaceTime. But it appears that as the Department of Justice in Capitol Hill delivers swift penalties to China's invasion of privacy,
first, I am announcing that a grand jury in Seattle has returned an indictment that alleges 10 federal crimes by 2 affiliates of telecommunications corporation Huawei Technologies. According to the indictment, in 2012, Huawei began a concerted effort to steal information about a robot that T-Mobile used to test mobile phones. In an effort to build their own robot, Huawei's engineers allegedly violated confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements with T-Mobile by secretly taking photos of the robot, measuring it, and even stealing it.
Silicon Valley continues to violate not only our First Amendment rights, but our basic right to privacy with little repercussions other than David versus Goliath level lawsuits. Furthermore, this shows that totalitarianism isn't thousands of miles away in Asia. It's right here in the good old United States of America. Jon Bowne reporting. You must protect the contents of your cranium. A creeping propaganda disease is ravenously feeding on the U.S. population and its media addiction.
And new research shows the dangers of being a couch potato. A study in the Journal of the American Heart Association says adults who watch TV for 3 hours or more each day may double their risk of premature death.
The chains of anti-propaganda were completely broken in 2013 after the modernization of the Smith-Munn Act.
Wrapped inside the 2013 NDAA was an amendment that removed the ban on the U.S. government creating propaganda and then showing it to U.S. citizens. That ban, by the way, had been in place since 1948. The 2013 amendment struck down a ban on domestic dissemination of propaganda material produced by the State Department and the Independent Broadcasting Board of Governors. It neutralized the Smith-Munn Act of 1948 and the Foreign Relations Authorization Act in 1987 that had been passed to protect U.S. audiences from our own government's misinformation campaigns.
Even before then, deep state powers had been increasing their mind control of the public, manufacturing a glowing reputation for themselves. As was reported by The Atlantic in an article about the symbiotic relationship between Hollywood and the CIA. Quote, the agency has established a very active spin machine in the heart of the entertainment capital, which works strenuously to make sure the cloak and dagger world is presented in heroic terms. Since the mid-1990s, but especially after 9/11, American screenwriters, directors, and producers have traded positive portrayal of the spy profession in film or television projects for special access and favors at CIA headquarters. Meanwhile, manufactured weaponized blame targets every television across the land.
Are you suggesting that the entire Trump vote was racist and by racists?
I think yes.
Blame fueled by the 92% negative media coverage of the Trump presidency, as the Media Research Center discovered after viewing 1,007 evening news stories about the Trump White House on ABC, CBS, and NBC from June 1st to September 30th of last year. Investors Business Daily writes, that's the equivalent of about 32.7 hours of coverage. By TV standards, an eternity of news time. An epidemic of blame that allows politicians like Representative Pramila Jayapal to vomit out pure fantasy without any sense of backlash.
It is fundamentally existential if he continues to insist on a wall. And, you know, you just said it so beautifully, Chris. This has never been about a wall. He actually could have gotten funding a couple of years ago or a year ago for a wall. It was part of a deal that was proposed. Not all of us agreed with that deal, but it was proposed to him, and he turned it down because his ultimate goal is, as you said, to make America pure in the sense of not having immigrants, not having folks of color here, and shutting down every form of legal immigration, all to throw a bone to those people, all to throw a bone to those people.
It may seem like blatant propaganda will always be countered by truth, but the truth tellers are under attack, and their days and that of the First Amendment are numbered. If nothing is done, propagandists like Pramila Jayapal are the future of the American narrative.
In Nazi Germany, it is what happened during the Japanese internment. And people on both sides of the aisle have been making this case. Laura Bush on the internment and Michael Hayden, former CIA director, saying these were the conditions in the 30s that led to what happened in the 40s. And so I think we have to be very, very concerned about what's happening. And, that's the issue.
Jon Bowne reporting. The hypocrisy amongst the Democratic Socialists is primed for new levels in 2019. Case in point, Iowa Representative Steve King is having his political gravitas upended by a free speech damning Congress.
And I look at this language that's here, this resolution, that the House of Representatives once again rejects white nationalism and white supremacy and hateful expressions of intolerance that are contradictory to the values that define the people of the United States. I agree with that language I've said. So I want to compliment the gentleman from South Carolina for bringing this resolution. And I've carefully studied every word in this resolution, and even though I'd add some more that are stronger language, I agree with the language in it. So I want to ask my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, let's vote for this resolution. I'm putting up a yes on the board here.
The most appropriate way to proceed at this moment is to put forth a resolution that we expect will secure bipartisan support, because white supremacy, white nationalism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, hate, xenophobia, all of these issues aren't Democratic issues or Republican issues. They are American issues that we should address in a bipartisan way, and that's why we've decided to proceed in this fashion.
I understand how you interpreted my words when you read them this way. There is no tape for this interview that I did. I want to read it to you the way I believe I said it. And that's this. White nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive?
Obviously, the Steve King debacle sets yet another future precedent to take out any Trump allies based on hearsay. Amazingly, the Democrats are given the reins of full hypocrisy, declaring in explicit terms their prejudice for Trump voters, a fantastical characterization of half of the U.S. population as old, white, bigoted, redneck men with limited education and political understanding, regardless of the millions of Americans that support Trump that don't even come close to this description.
Donald Trump supporters are older, less educated, less prosperous, and they are dying early. Their lifespans are decreasing, and many are dying from alcoholism, drug overdoses, liver disease, or simply a broken heart caused by economic despair.
His ultimate goal is, as you said, to make America pure in the sense of not having immigrants, not having folks of color here, and shutting down every form of legal immigration, all to throw a bone to those people, all to throw a bone to those people.
Any objective political scientist understands, and I believe Donald Trump himself said that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and some segment of the American people would remain committed to him. The fact is, he's probably topped out at his number. Those are people who we want to work with. We want to reopen government for them, but understandably, they are his core supporters, and it doesn't seem to matter what he does, they will continue to support him.
The District of Criminals is now reaching its immoral zenith, where free speech, truth, and reason are cast out from these hallowed halls, replaced by Marxist social upheaval fueled by the demagoguery of traitors.
There is no room for white supremacy. That's why I took a strong action. That's why I wanted to make a statement. That's why I did something, and the steering committee did as well, and the whole body. Something as serious as this. We don't take this lightly.
I think that we've been very clear. I think it was a very significant and serious step to remove him from committees. And I think that you've seen now repeated, this wasn't the first time, but his language questioning whether or not the notion of white supremacy is offensive is absolutely abhorrent. It's racist.
Jon Bowne reporting. You can always find us at dailynewscollective.com, at blablahshow.com, on YouTube at JonBownePolitix, on gab.ai at JonBownePolitix, and Twitter @NewsBattle.